In the headlines, Barbados stepping up efforts to build climate resilience from coastline to community. More steps being taken to assist members of the disabled community. An update on plans to rebuild the National Stadium. And in sports, Barbados women sink to a heavy defeat, their first of the regional Super 50.
Broadcasting from our studios in the Pine St. Michael, this is CBC NewsNight, starting now.
Good evening and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Tisha Hines with the details to the news at this time. Millions of dollars are being invested into shoring up Barbados against future coastal hazards. This is set to occur as a result of a partnership with the World Bank. The disclosure from Minister of Home Affairs and Information Wilfred Abrams at the launch of this year's Coastal Hazard and Earthquake Smart Month. Sean Farrell has that story.
Rehabilitation and future-proofing of the Bridgetown Fisheries Complex breakwater, restoration of the Bridgetown port, and relocation and repair of fishing vessels are all top priority for our government as the island recovers from the aftermath of last year's Hurricane Beryl. Minister of Home Affairs and Information Wilfred Abrams says recovery action requires rebuilding infrastructure, climate adaptation, and strengthening disaster preparedness.
The government partnered with the World Bank to prepare the Beryl Emergency Response and Recovery Project. This US $54 million initiative will focus on rebuilding critical infrastructure, protecting valuable communities, ensuring the sustainable recovery of the fishing industry, and enhancing the country's disaster preparedness capacity, paving the way for a more resilient Barbados in the face of climate risks.
Co-chair of the Technical Standing Committee on Coastal Hazards and Director of the Department of Emergency Management, Kerry Hines, says Barbados needs to ensure all at-risk communities are prepared and resilient to coastal and seismic hazards.
The comprehensive disaster management strategy guides our work. For the past couple of years, we have worked on ensuring that the strategy truly represents the Barbados way for disaster risk reduction.
Meanwhile, Director of the Coastal Zone Management Unit, Dr. Leo Brewster, says in addition to coastal hazards, Barbadians also need to pay attention to flash floods, sea level swell wave events, coastal erosion, sea level rise, land slippage, and cliff failure. And he says they are set to launch a Tsunami Ready program in the DEO of St. Michael Northwest for a year and redesignate St. James North, St. Peter and St. Lucie to ensure tsunami coverage from Boscobel to the Flora Mill.
Coastal hazards are real, just like climate change is real, and we have to give consideration to changing weather patterns, and Brian's going to get into that. And we have to be aware on an annual basis that these things will occur not only during the hurricane season. As we embark on the Coastal Hazards and Earthquakes Month, I would like us to commit to becoming more informed and more proactive in the approaches that we take to dealing with coastal hazards and tsunamis and being prepared for them.
The month of activities kicked off with an event at the Hillcrest Community Center in St. Joseph. It was also announced March 7th has been designated National Earthquake Preparedness Day. And Barbadians are being encouraged to follow all signals and protocol beginning at 10 a.m. Sean Farrell, CBC News.
Government is taking more steps tonight to enable members of the disabled community. One involves the provision of a grant to small businesses to retrofit their properties to accommodate employees with disabilities. Another is to allow employed people with disabilities to continue receiving their benefits. Anesta Henry tells us more.
Minister of Labour, Social Security and Third Sector Colin Jordan made the revelations at the opening of the Barbados National Organization of the Disabled Disability Empowerment Program. He says the issue of special needs benefits continuing while employed has been a bugbear for decades.
It was mentioned earlier today, there are people with disabilities who avoid working because first you're not sure how long-term the job is. And so if you give up the benefit because there's a job and it doesn't work out, then you're kind of back to square one. We're working on ensuring that unless the earnings go past a particular threshold, which we have to discuss and decide upon, the benefit will remain. It makes no sense a person with a disability having a very part-time job. It might be a job that is 2 days a week. It may be paying at minimum wage. That is not enough to sustain the person.
Mr. Jordan says Cabinet recently agreed to extend the age limit for people to enter the Job Start program from 24 to 34 years of age, while also increasing the weekly stipend for job starters with disabilities from $150 to $250 in recognition that transportation is often a challenge.
As part of the expansion of Job Start Plus in relation to people with disabilities, we have a temporary incentive program that provides a grant of up to $5,000 for retrofitting the workplace in order to accommodate job starters with disabilities.
Mr. Jordan says government expects without being pushed, employers will do the right thing and employ people with disabilities.
The ministry and the cabinet decided against quotas, but I want to re-emphasize something that he said. Decided against quotas at this time.
And the president of the Barbados National Organization of the Disabled, Pero Holloway, wants employers to see hiring people with disabilities makes good business sense.
And then that message goes out to all corporate Barbados and also governments, departments, ministries, whatever, who want to be in the hiring business of persons with disabilities.
This week, members of the disabled community will receive training to prepare them for the world of work as part of the Disability Awareness Month of activities. Onesta Henry, CBC News.
Yeah, that's great news, Onesta. Phase 1 to build a new national stadium is to start this week. That's according to Minister of Youth, Sports and Community Empowerment, Charles Griffith. Rachel Agard has more.
The National Stadium project is said to be at an advanced stage. Minister of Youth, Sports and Community Empowerment, Charles Griffith, gave the update during the estimates debate. He says the work on Phase 1 should be completed within 29 months.
Recently, the Chinese government would have asked us to clear all of the material that we had at the location in preparation for the demolition.
Meanwhile, Sports Development Officer Stephen Rowe says next week a Chinese delegation should be on island to start the review of the stadium in its current state with a view to demolition.
And thereafter, we should have at least Phase 1 of the National Stadium with a capacity of seating 10,000 persons. That's on the western side. Also to be completed at that stage would be a warm-up track, a 400-meter warm-up track to international standards, and which is in keeping with the international requirement for stadia. And that will be located on the current Barbados Lumber Company site.
Mr. Griffith says Phase 2 will mirror Phase 1 with an additional 10,000 seats to complete the stadium. However, he says the road has to be redirected using a section of the Botanical Gardens to meet back at the junction with Combermere School. Mr. Rowe adds the designs for Phase 2 have already been drafted and are under review.
Those designs are being influenced by the master plan for the National Stadium, which is currently being completed, well, the draft of which has been completed and will be reviewed shortly, and that will inform the exact location of the stand, as well as the design of the road.
The last event held at the National Stadium was the National Primary Schools Athletics Championships in March 2020. Rachel Agard, CBC News.
Meanwhile, leader of the opposition, Ralph Thorne, who has welcomed news of the conversion of the National Netball Stadium to a more multi-purpose facility.
Thank you for that. I don't come here to criticize for the sake of criticizing. Where some praise is due, the government will get praise. And if the netball stadium is now to be converted into a multi-purpose facility, congratulations.
The long-awaited sports facility at St. Matthias is still very much in the works. That's according to Director of the National Sports Council, Neil Murrell. He says they're now awaiting a new scope of works for the design of the project. Mr. Murrell was responding to Senior Minister in the Prime Minister's office, Dr. the Honourable William Duguid, who questioned why the facility was not already erected after government had provided the funds for the project a year ago.
Like any project of this magnitude, we had to assemble an engineering, architecture, an architectural team to provide, first of all, the design and construction drawings, and also to provide estimates with regard to the project. We had been pretty much advanced along that line, and we were on the process of going towards tendering. But the scope of the project has changed, and the consultants are currently in the process of creating the design for the new scope of works for that particular project.
Well, coming up, this year's sugar crop starts tomorrow. A senior police officer has revealed a growing demand for drugs in Barbados. Superintendent Mark White made the revelation during a panel discussion organized by the Roman Catholic Diocese of Bridgetown to discuss the topic crime and violence, seeking pathways to restoration. Trevor Thorpe reports.
The senior police officer says the #1 driver of crime is drugs. He says many are using drugs, and it is not restricted to any specific area. It is across the length and breadth of society.
It's not only people on the block. People are smoking in their homes, primary school, secondary school, tertiary education. There's this growing demand for drugs because it makes you feel high, it settles your head, it gives you the energy you want, and so on. And if we're going to attack the root cause of crime, we have to start to stem the flow of drugs.
The superintendent says legislation is coming to help in the fight against drugs.
Crime is driven by drugs, and of course it flows into guns because you have to protect them. So we have to try to stem the flow of drugs, which is not very easily. Because if we can take the sting out of crime, especially big crime, drug trafficking and gun trafficking, then, so that way we have the asset recovery, different laws the government is bringing to try to pull the assets from under those big drug lords.
The police officer says people fear reprisals and prefer to stay silent and refrain from making reports.
So when we keep saying, if you see something, say something, that doesn't happen. That's why people continue to smoke marijuana all over the place. It's not so much decriminalized. What happens is, if you are caught with under 15 grams, you are taken to the police station, the investigation process, you go through the investigation process, but then you're given a ticket, and you go to court and pay the $250, or then you go through the normal criminal proceedings. So it's not so much decriminalized, it's just that they don't arrest, charge you, and put you before the court. You go pay what they call a ticketing offense, you pay the $250 if you have it.
Superintendent White says the fight against drugs is a combined effort, which includes the church, community groups, civic organizations, and the police. However, he concedes that the drug lords wield a significant influence in the neighborhoods in which they operate.
It's a big problem. We got to, again, work together to address these problems, and it's going to take time, but if we're committed to do it, I believe we can get it done.
The panel discussion is part of the Catholic Jubilee Year 2025 under the theme Pilgrims of Hope, and reflects the Church's commitment to reconciliation and social transformation. Trevor Thorpe, CBC News.
It is being projected that 100,000 tons of sugar will be produced this year. This announcement from Minister of Agriculture, Food and Nutritional Security, Indar Ware, who tells CBC News the 2025 sugarcane harvest is set to begin tomorrow, Tuesday.
I've been asked questions today about the start of the crop, which was announced to be starting today. Unfortunately, there was a slight hiccup in that we had to get the certification for the weighbridge, which is that area of the factory that weighs the canes when they come in on the bins. And therefore, the person who was doing that couldn't do it until this morning. That resulted in a delay, but all is set. The factory is in good condition, and the crop would indeed start tomorrow instead of today.
Mr. Ware says there will be no changes to the teams involved in the overall sugarcane harvest process.
Where government still, up to this time, holds a 25% shareholding until everything is settled. But over and above that, everything else is in place. And we are moving forward with the next thing we have to do in this transition is to get the renewable energy project moving, and everybody should be good.
12-year-old Coleridge and Parry School student Aidan Bruce is passionate about keeping abreast of what's happening right here in our country. And to accomplish this, Bruce says one of his favorite things to do is to watch us right here on CBC News on TV8 to stay informed of breaking news and current affairs. He introduced himself to a CBC News team during a recent event at his school.
And I go to school at the Coleridge and Parry School. Now, fun fact about me, I like to watch the news. Even though I'm supposed to be by my bed by 7 o'clock, I still like to stay up and watch the news. I asked my parents if I could stay up and watch the news, and they let me. So I watch the news every night, almost every night at 7 o'clock. And I learned so far about, I think it was a few weeks ago or last month or something around that time, a little boy was laid down. He got knocked down by a car, a 6-year-old little boy. And I never knew that he was out of the hospital. I knew that he went to the hospital and he came back out. But after I watched the news, I realized that he was with his mother. So I told myself, that's good.
And the young man also grasped the opportunity to conduct an interview and also to experience what it feels like to sign off a newscast.
Thanks for tuning in to CBC News tonight. Watch again sometime.
And we urge parents to give them a bedtime past 7 so they can indeed watch the news. Well, it's time for news with Damien Best, and thankfully he's not synonymous with heartbreak, but that's what we got with the ladies today, Damien.
Yeah, a little bit of tough luck. Good evening to you, Tisha. Good evening to our viewers and listeners. Barbados suffered their first defeat of the CG United Women's Super 50 Cup today, losing to Trinidad and Tobago women in a match at the St. Paul Sports Complex in St. Kitts. Sent into bat, Barbados women collapsed to 76 all out in 40.5 overs. Aniza Mohammed was the pick of the bowlers for TNT with figures of 3 for 12. Samara Ramnath also took 3 for 13. Kaishana Knight top scored for Barbados with 23, and twin sister Kaisia added 20. Well, in reply, Trinidad and Tobago women reached 77 for 5 in 22 overs to win by 5 wickets. Janaba Joseph top scored with 27, while Killia Elliott and Thiani Herbert Mears took 2 wickets apiece. TNT now topped the table with 27 points, and Barbados dropped to 3rd behind Windward Islands women on 24 points. The Bajans' next match will be against Leeward Islands women on Wednesday. Barbadian fast bowler Shimar Holder has been granted permission to represent the combined campuses and colleges squad in their round 4 first-class match against Barbados Pride at Kensington Oval. Well, the lights at the YMCA and Emerton playing field are set to be upgraded. Word of this from Senior Superintendent of Works at the National Sports Council, Nicholas Mathias, during his contribution to the estimates debate today. Member of Parliament for the city, Corey Lane, raised the question, noting that the issue of lights has been a serious one for the community.
Emerton, we are actually waiting on a shipment of lights to reach Barbados. I've been told that they will get here on March 7th. So we can upgrade the lights at Emerton. So we had gotten them back into play, and as you can imagine, the lights are aged. So we are going to upgrade them similar to what we did at the Patchwood Road location. Also at YMCA, actually YMCA still calls us for assistance for painting of their courts. And I cannot see any reason out there that we cannot assist them in getting some lighting down there. I myself am a product of basketball, and I have played at YMCA in my school days. So that is one that we definitely can look for the future, especially in this shipment of lights that we have coming in.
Mr. Matthias also says a city gym is also on the cards.
I know everybody wants an outdoor gym, and I can see how they have been benefiting the country as a whole. And we can definitely, through our minister, promise to have one put either at the YMCA or even the Emerton location as well.
Some football news now. Weymouth Wales extended their lead at the top of the BFA Premier League with a 4-0 thrashing of Pride of Gall Hill when action continued last night at the Wildy Turf. Meanwhile, Britons Hill and Ellerton were also in the winner's circle.
Opening fixture, Britons Hill playing Kickstart Rush in white. Shad Paris lets it fly and uncharacteristically Kerry Holder spills it. The result is the opening goal for Kickstart on 24 minutes. That lead didn't last as long as a snow cone on a hot day. 2 minutes later, Shaquille Boyce got a squared ball from Ray Snag. The defense cannot react in time. We're tied at 1-1. Kickstart the better of the two at halftime though. After this aerial bombardment, Carl Hickson right off the forehead and in. 2-1 then. Change of ends for the second half. Britons Hill on the go. Link up exquisite. And that final touch off the defender lethal. Tied at 2-2 now. The fortunes of Britons Hill continue to blossom. Wonderful ball over the top. Ben Everett to the rescue, but even with his best intentions, Arantes Lawrence somehow, someway finds the corner pocket to secure the 3-2 victory for Britons Hill. Second match bringing together the defending champions Weymouth Wales in green versus Pride of Gall Hill. 19th minute. Eye candy, what a ball via Rashad Smith, and what a finish from Andre Applewhite. 1-0 to Wales. Some defenders having a rough night. 31st minute, another outstretched boot, and Applewhite has his brace. 2-0 at halftime. The switch made for the second, opposite directions. 53rd minute, Wales finding lots of open space to maneuver. Akil Applewhite, cool, calm, leaves Justin Neal grasping at straws. 3-zip the scoreline. Smith would get his name on the score sheet in the 64th minute via hopeful shot at goal, and somehow it drops perfectly into the back of the net and leaves Neal in a tangle. Wales brushing aside Pride of Gall Hill, 4-0. Final match of the night, Ellerton playing Paradise, wearing the tropical blue. Electrifying first half, 11th minute, Shaquille Bell on a tear down the left. Squares it, scrambled off the upright. The rebound, perfect for Roshan Gittins. 1-0 then. The goal of the night, though, came in the 22nd minute. Romario Drakes with a special delivery from the right. Arom Albino on the volley and buried. Rewind and play it back, please. That's dripping in sugar. 2-0 the score. Just before the break, Paradise with half the deficit, though. Intuitive footwork from Sharan Hoyt favors the left foot, and the comeback could be on. 2-1. It stayed that way for a while until the 84th minute. Miscommunication between the keeper, Greg Jones, and the defender. Punished by Hoyt. Paradise 2, Ellerton 2. Which way will it swing? 2 minutes later, Bino beats the offside trap to the shock of custodian Jason Boxhill. The game winner. Ellerton take all 3 points against Paradise, winning the contest 3-2.
And that is the first half in sports. Tisha, it's back over to you.
Hey, thank you so much. Coming up next on CBC's Newsnight, the Business Report. Dancehall king DJ Palmer, best known as Vybz Cartel, is continuing to add to his list of talents. It comes with the latest launch of a line of rums under the Straight Vibes label. The product was birthed in Trinidad and Tobago, but first distributed in Jamaica, and now it is Barbados' turn. Rachel Agard has the story.
Vybz Cartel's move to mix music and drink has given birth to 4 unique blends of alcohol: Fever, Unstoppable, Electric, and Rampin' Shop. Stansfeld Scott, Barbados commercial manager of Spirits, Ricardo Smith, says the Straight Vibes line will create much-needed opportunities in Barbados.
We have 4 variants. We have the Unstoppable, which is a dark rum. We have the Fever, which is an overproof rum. So for the strong drinkers, 63%. So if you can manage 63%, that's for you. Then we have the Electric, which is a white rum, but it's more with a lemon zest flavor. And then we have your last one, the Rompin' Shop. So if you know Cartel and Spice song Rompin' Shop, I don't need to tell you about that rum. That rum is the rum to drink. Not only will we be on the radio station, we'll be having weekly activation. So rum shops will get a chance to get boosting from the economy. Persons will get a chance to sample cocktails, all of these things. So people pockets will be growing just because of the rum.
Meanwhile, the artiste and businessman Adidja Palmer, also known as Vybz Cartel, says there is no magic pill to achieve success.
The first thing you have to be successful is the vision. You have to see it before you can do it. And with that being said, I have to pick up my manager, TJ, because he's the one who came to me with the idea. He had the vision, he told me the vision, and I understood the assignment. So the first rule of vision. Second rule for success, hard work. And we put in the work to get the product ready, day and night. I mean, we're working around the clock. People from Australia, England, Barbados, Antigua, Jamaica. So we put in the work. Pass me that back with it, please. So with the vision and the hard work, you get the success.
The line of spirits will be available at all supermarkets on island and in duty-free shops.
Straight Vibes from Barbados.
Rachel Agard, CBC News.
Meanwhile, the upcoming Caribbean Music Festival, which Vybz Cartel is set to headline, is anticipated to bring a much-needed injection into the economy. This is according to Zulu Entertainment Inc. and Caribbean Music Festival events coordinator Tredona Paris. She says with regional and international people slated to fly into the country for the event next month, millions of dollars in revenue is expected.
When you talk about employment, I'm looking at the fact that the hairdressers, the makeup artists, the nail techs, the salespersons who are going to be selling the clothes, the shoes, everything, everybody's going to be making money. We are looking to actually have almost over 15,000 patrons plus at Kensington. So it's going to attract a lot of revenue, not only locally but also internationally. I know we have a lot of persons coming from overseas who will be attending, and I mean right now things are going fantastic, and I just believe that everything will work out to suit.
Well, it's time now to take a look at how stocks performed locally and regionally today.
In Jamaica, Victon Energy Limited with 4,025,303 units was the volume leader, followed by Trans-Jamaican Highway Limited and the JMMB Group Limited 7.35% cumulative redeemable preference share. In Trinidad and Tobago, the markets were closed for Carnival Monday. And here in Barbados, the West India Biscuit Company Limited was the sole security, trading 75 shares at Barbados $32 each.
Well, Carrie-Ann O'Neill is here. She's up next with weather. It's time for us to update you on the weather now with Carrie-Ann O'Neill.
Well, good evening to you, Tisha, and good evening, everyone. A weak shear line is impacting the island. We had only, though, a few light showers during the afternoon. Now, the winds, they are light to moderate across the region, and the seas, they are above normal. We do have a small craft advisory in effect. The maximum temperature today was 29 degrees Celsius, the minimum 24 degrees. At present, the temperature stands at 26 degrees Celsius. The relative humidity, 70%. The winds are coming in from the east, southeast. We take a look now at some atmospheric conditions across the region, where the temperatures are ranging from 24 to 27 degrees Celsius. The humidity shows that it is quite dry across the region, and those winds are light to moderate across the islands. We take a look now at our satellite feed, where a weak shear line is impacting the island. However, we experienced only a few low-level clouds during the afternoon. We had just a few light showers passing over the island. Meanwhile, the winds are peaking at 90 knots. Those seas moderate in open water, with swells peaking at 2.5 meters. We are urging small craft operators as well as sea bathers to exercise caution. There is a small craft advisory in effect. Later on tonight, we can expect a mix of clear and cloudy skies, along with just a few light scattered showers. Further south, a trough system impacted the Guianas. They had some scattered showers there. And over now in the Western Caribbean, convergence maintained showers across most of the islands. We're talking about southern Bahamas, Jamaica, Cuba, as well as Hispaniola. That's our first look at the weather. After the break, we'll have the forecast. Welcome back. In the forecast for tomorrow, the sun is expected to rise at 12 minutes after 6 and will set at 7 minutes past 6. Now, the first high tide is expected at 6:40 in the morning, the first low at 14 minutes past midnight. Those seas, they're moderate in open water with swells peaking at 2.5 meters. We continue to urge small craft operators as well as sea bathers to exercise caution. The winds, they're coming in from the east to the east-southeast and they're peaking at 35 kilometers per hour. For us here in Barbados tonight, we can expect a mix of clear and cloudy skies along with a few scattered light showers. And over the next 3 days, a mix of sunshine, clouds, and showers can be expected.
Time to dive in. Damien is back with the second half of sports.
Yeah, thanks so much, Tisha. Well, plenty records fell as 29 Barbadian junior athletes qualified for the Carifta Swimming Championships as the curtain came down on the Bassa Long Course yesterday at the Aquatic Center in Wildy. CBC's Anne Margaret Boyce reports on the 100-meter butterfly events.
Time for a pool party at the Aquatic Center. It's the Bassa Long Course Championships. Let's start with the girls 11 to 12 100-meter butterfly. Off the blocks, Pirates' Kaija Eastman powered into the lead, but her clubmate Gabriella Babb remained in contention as the girls spread for the first 50 meters. And that's how it was for the entire contest. Eastman was in a class of her own and could not be stopped. Check the clock, 1 minute, 07.77, a new record and Carifta qualifying time. Bob was second, 1 minute, 15.62, a Carifta B standard, while Alyssa Watkins of Marlins was third. The boys were up next off and splashing, and it was pretty even in the early stages. Final few meters now, and this is where the tide shifted, and Ethan Chu started to make his move on Keon Deshawn, and there was no looking back. He just got better and better, winning for Sailfish in 1 minute, 08.85. Deshawn of Black Sands was second, 1 minute, 14.44, and third went to Alpha's Amir Gittins. Girls followed, and it was a lightning start. Let's skip to the end, where it was still anyone's race here. Who's going to take it? Kalia Springer answers the call, taking charge in 1 minute, 11.62. Amaya Harrison of High Tide Stingrays was second, 1 minute, 12.02. And Amaya Curtin of Pirates was third. Two of the boys, same division, same distance. No need to waste time when the action was at the end. Center of your picture, it's the man from Sailfish, Jacoby Collamore's butterfly in full flight, 1 minute, 01.12. Zachary Burr of Alpha Sharks was second, 1 minute, 04.42. And Matthew Legault Briggs was third. The girls' 15 to 17 event was over just as it started. Focus your attention to the young lady with the purple cap. She's the only one in frame. Look at the distance and the time. 1 minute, 06.38. Book your ticket to Carifta. Jaya Simmons. We end with the boys. Final 50 meters where it was all about Victor Ashby. And with the crowd screaming his name in the background, he delivered in 1 minute, 0.45. Jaden Johnson was second, and Kareem Johnson was third. Anmar Goodrich Boyce, CBC Sports.
Yeah, thanks, Anmar. Well, Barbadian triathlete Layla McIntyre produced a memorable performance over the weekend to win the junior girls section at the Claremont Draft Legal Triathlon held in Claremont, Florida, USA. She clocked 34 minutes, 47 seconds after the 0.375 kilometer swim, the 10-kilometer bike, and the 2.5 kilometer run in a field of 47 entries. On Saturday, it took a little longer to win the first race as she posted an official time of 36 minutes, 24 seconds. The other athlete representing Barbados was Zinzali Renwick Williams in the junior boys section. He finished 18th out of a field of 41 on Saturday with a time of 34 minutes, 49 seconds. And that is it for sports for tonight. Tisha, it's back over to you.
Hey, thank you so much, Damien. We'll be right back. Do stay with us.
Minding Your Business, brought to you.
In this week's edition of Minding Your Business, whenever you say the words road tennis, it should immediately conjure up images of the popular sport being played at any number of well-known road tennis courts around the island. And for Stephen Griffith and his United Road Tennis and Coaching Incorporated, the mission is to take the sport to as many places around the globe as possible. And he has been busy using his linkages in Canada to help road tennis to continue to grow. He describes himself as a Barbadian working in Canada, orchestrating road tennis and road tennis related programs.
I just decided to take some rackets and one of my visits 2022 into Canada and just keep exercising as I was from the COVID, in conversation with some guys to showcase road tennis in Canada. So I met with them and we were showcasing in a school with the Consulate General at that time, and we realized that when we finished the program that there wasn't really equipment left for the children to continue the program. So some person from the Peel School District Board, they reached out to us, to the consulate, the Vice Consulate, which is David Gibbs, and we organized a tennis presentation in the school. And then I decided that it wouldn't be right to just present tennis without having a program, a development program.
And he says he has always had a passion for road tennis, so it seemed almost like a natural progression.
So I actually formed a company, which is this company here, with my family, and we decided to present tennis programs, not just presentation. So from there we entered the Peel School, and we set up a 7-day program training. It's called Edenwood Middle School.
Now, looking ahead, Stephen says the focus will not only be on schools, but also on community centres in Canada, where the reach is wider. He says on the local front, he has teamed up with Ramel Griffith from the Pinelands High Performance Academy to also be a part of the important venture, which has also involved the creation of a new racket better suited for indoor road tennis games.
The rackets that we have in Barbados, the kids will say they're too heavy for them. So I actually got my brother in New York he formed a company and he started making rackets much later, because we don't want to get to the stage that we cannot produce rackets. And I don't want to be bringing rackets from Barbados to Canada, right? Because the price might be too high, right? And then we want it to be an accessible sport, affordable and accessible, because that's how the sport was started. So I want to keep it at this level that the diaspora can actually enjoy the sport and take it to a professional level. I reached out to some persons in Cayman Islands and Trinidad, and we actually got some of these magazines that I created in Cayman Islands at the moment. So we're trying to push it. We ain't trying to own it. We're trying to incorporate with any international bodies to spread the game.
Now, of course, after all this road tennis talk, I had to try to shake some rust off in an attempt to rediscover my road tennis skills, which I'm ashamed to say I haven't used in a few years at least. Let's just say that I'm definitely going to have to work on my fitness levels as well as my shot. But at least I'm on the road to regaining my rhythm and even showing the little one a few moves along the way as well. Now, if you'd like to find out how you can get involved in this exciting initiative, just email the folks at United Road Tennis at unitedroadtennis@gmail.com, or reach out by phone or WhatsApp using area code 647 along with the number 404-6367. And on that note, that's all the time we have for this week's episode. I'm Ryan Broom, and this has been Minding Your Business.
Minding Your Business, brought to you.
Well, look at the time. That's news. Thank you so much for spending the time with us. We'll be back here tomorrow, same time, same place. Do join us then. Have a good night.